Welcome to Doodles and Discourse. I'm Taroko.
And I'm Kairos.
And my landlord's small children will probably be guest starring in the form of random banging noises, which is fun. So since this is the maiden voyage, a little background. The idea here is to talk about nerdy things while playing time lapses of various attempts at artwork, which will ideally be relevant to what we're discussing. Kairos and I have been doing a Lord of the Rings reread and discussing each chapter on LiveJournal and Tumblr. We're nearly done with Fellowship of the Ring, so today we'll be discussing Chapter 8 of Book 2.
Righto, and this chapter is titled Farewell to Lorien. I'm just going to go through and do a little bit of a summary of the chapter. The company is saying their goodbyes to the Lord and Lady of Lothlorien, Celeborn and Galadriel, and it really just starts out with directions, picking a path, and then we see all the details of them packing for the rest of their journey. They set out in boats, which they have received from the elves, and as they are on the river, they are stopped and pulled over by Galadriel and Celeborn in a boat of their own. So to say goodbye, they all have a picnic on the shore, and Galadriel has a very special gift for everybody. And after these gifts are exchanged, they say goodbye, and the company is now off on their own. Farewell to Lorien.
Yes, and that's the chapter title, right?
It is.
Okay. All right, so we're just going to go through some of the things that stood out to us, and when we have them, we'll include favorite quotes. Okay, so the first thing that I noticed is that Boromir is getting scarier.
Indeed, Boromir is getting a little bit scarier. We saw that in kind of the group discussion about where they're headed next.
Yeah, he's very set on going to Minas Tirith, and he had a little slip where he clearly has forgotten Elrond's good advice about how you can't use the One Ring. He seems to want to do something different with it.
Right, and also it's interesting that Frodo seems to be the only one who notices this.
Mm-hmm.
Frodo looks at Aragorn, and it says Aragorn seems deep in his own thought and made no sign that he had heeded Boromir's words. And of course, everybody else is basically asleep.
Oh, yeah. It's really interesting, because Frodo has been, I guess, made more observant by being the ring bearer in a lot of ways, but I think some of that, at least, is just his personality.
Yeah, I think Frodo is really an exceptional hobbit, and they've kind of stated that explicitly a couple times, but it's kind of cool when it shows up in, such obvious evidence in the text.
Yeah. Okay, so then... Oh, what was yours? Sorry. We should probably alternate.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. I kind of thought it was interesting that there was so much space devoted to just figuring out what their next step is. Because if, like me, you were thinking of the movie at this point, there's none of that. It's just they're leaving and they're suddenly in boats.
Yeah, I think the only time they deliberate is when they're trying to decide if they're going to go over the mountain or under it, and then also which way within Moria. But after that, until they get broken up, I don't think there's a lot of debate.
Yeah, so there were a lot of kind of nuts and bolts, practical topics that they needed to discuss here, and I think mostly that points to Aragorn's conflict, because he was never meant to be the leader of this company.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's just kind of stuck thinking, what would Gandalf do?
Right. Yeah, I liked the bit where he was like, I would go reclaim my throne, except now I'm in charge and I have to... But how do I even protect these little hobbits on the way to Mordor? He's just such at a loss.
Yeah, and I mean, that is a really tough question, because both of these tasks in front of him are extremely important, and he can't do both at once.
Right. Okay, so my next one is kind of silly, but the lembas bread sounds amazing, and I would like to know if there is a recipe that's even worth attempting.
Probably not, because this also kind of ties into my next note, which was basically the lembas bread, but also everything else made by the elves.
Yeah.
Just the boats, the gifts, the rope.
Yeah. That ties into my next note.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah.
It's every time that you hear about something that was made by the elves, it's always kind of got that magical quality to it.
I do want to check if there's like a Lord of the Rings cookbook anyway, just to see.
There must be.
Yeah, like,
and I'm sure there's got to be at least a few recipes worth making in it. So yes, that is definitely worth looking into.
Yes. So maybe there will be future videos that are like cooking tutorials with Lord of the Rings cuisine.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I have no idea how to film that. So anyway, okay, so this is actually the note after the next one, but with Sam and the rope, it's been an entire little tiny subplot, and
I know, isn't that cute?
Yeah, he's just been grouchy about not having rope all this time, and then he meets a rope nerd elf.
Right, and then they have to part ways just as he discovers that this elf would teach him how to make special elven ropes.
Yes, thwarted again, but at least he has some rope now. So that was cute. And before that, though, when Galadriel outfits them with new clothes that have a stealth bonus, I was really caught by the detail that she helped weave them personally.
That's in my notes too, because it seems like Galadriel does everything. Like she's not only a queen, but she's playing the harp and singing, and she's weaving, and she's
she's not distant or leaves everything to her servants to do for her. She's very involved.
Yeah, and it's Galadriel and her ladies made it, so you can just kind of imagine all of these beautiful elf women kind of sitting around weaving, making this beautiful stuff.
Yeah, that I just liked that so much. Okay, and then what's your next one?
After that, I'm going into the gifts, which is a pretty huge topic in this chapter.
Right. Let's see. Okay, so before we get to the gifts, when their big swan boat came down the river, I was a little disappointed that it wasn't just a giant swan.
That thought never occurred to me, but it would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, because it was just straight metaphor until it turned the angle enough that they could tell that it was actually a carved ship. But up until then I was like, oh, is this going to be another type of giant bird in Middle Earth?
Oh man, yeah, just cruising down the river.
Yeah, but it
would be dangerous though. Remember, swans are evil.
Yeah, they're fierce. Okay, then this is where we come to this is about where my favorite quote was. So Celeborn has been kind of arm candy for Galadriel mostly up until this point, and I've been waiting for him to distinguish himself in some way, and he did not disappoint in this chapter. It wasn't very big, but Boromir had been being grumpy about how, it's just old wives' tales about Fanghorn Forest, and then Celeborn comes in with, "Do not despise the lore that has come down from distant years, for oft it may chance that old wives keep in memory word of things that once were needful for the wise to know." So, dropping some good advice.
That is pretty beautiful. It also, I have to say, it kind of reminds me of Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, when Peter tells him, "You're being like an old lady," and he says, "Because I'm wise."
Drax is the best.
Which, pretty logical. Yeah. Old ladies are often very wise, and maybe we should not laugh at them.
Yeah. So I just liked that. There's just all these signs that Celeborn and Galadriel are very, egalitarian and respectful of all sorts of people. which is cool because other elves we've met so far, including Legolas, have been a bit more elitist.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, it kind of even seems like Legolas being around these elves has become less elitist.
Indeed, yeah, because this is the one where it's like solidified that he and Gimli are now fast friends, which is nice.
I actually typed that out. Just the phrase "who had now become fast friends," and I like how it's such a brief moment. You know, it's not even a full sentence. It's just letting the reader know that these guys are cool now. You can fill in the gaps yourself.
Well, my show not tell radar kind of pinged on that line. Like, I like the line itself, but I do wish there had been maybe a couple more small scenes that had just shown that a little bit more clearly, but I'll take it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of in this case a sign that we're going to see a lot more of that to come.
Okay.
Which, yeah, it won't be the same as seeing them become friends, but it's establishing that their friendship is an important part of the story.
I guess it kind of plays into the way Lorien is such a strange place in, like, space-time. Because, like, there have been lots of changes for these characters, kind of subtle ones. And so, like, it's just kind of, we've blurred ahead to Gimli and Legolas being friends already. I think it sort of fits with the rest of that. Yeah,
kind of. I think we've had a lot of hints that all kinds of things happened in Lorien, and we heard about some of them, but we can just assume that it was life-changing for everybody.
Yeah. Okay, so the gifts.
The gifts.
I was amused and kind of sad that Boromir's was just like a throwaway sentence.
Right.
In the golden belt. It's like, I'm not sure they like him very much. And that's
well, also the the other hobbits.
Yeah.
Merry and Pippin, they got belts too.
They were described. Like, at least it took like 2 sentences.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Theirs felt less dismissive and more like, you guys are side characters, you know?
Oh, okay.
It wasn't like passive aggressive.
Maybe. I was just thinking, like, since it was the same type of gift as Boromir got, it was kind of if there's nothing particularly special about you, then Galadriel gives you a belt.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I mean, it did seem dismissive to me too.
I do like that the 3 of them got the same, I don't know, accessory, because they kind of have this, like, rapport going on in the background. So it's kind of cool that they all got the same type of gift. Yeah,
that's true. He is sort of their guardian.
Yeah.
Something. Sweet.
And then Aragorn got 2 because Galadriel ships him with her granddaughter.
Okay, changing the topic a little bit, but granddaughter, I thought daughter.
No.
Is there a specific line we can look at here?
Yeah. I'm not sure if I can find it real fast, but she says that she gives him a jewel that belonged to her daughter Celebrian, and it then belonged to Celebrian's daughter, Arwen.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's this whole thing... Oh, okay, so I found it.
I see, okay. Oh, Lady of Lorien, of whom were sprung Celebrian and Arwen Evenstar. I was thinking that, like, they were sisters, but...
No, the paragraph above that says, "This stone I gave to Celebrian, my daughter, and she to hers. And now it comes to you as a token of hope." And I think the token of hope thing, like, that's got some serious, like, promise ring vibes.
Yeah, oh, nice. And it even gave Aragorn another name to add to his collection, which is pretty great.
Yep. So yeah, I think that Galadriel is on board for Arwen and Aragorn together.
Which is wonderful.
It is. So it's not just Bilbo.
Yeah. Everyone ships them.
Yes.
Yeah, actually...
It's so low-key, though.
It is. And there is one more reference to this. Well, same area, but... one of my favorite quotes here is, she asks him, what gift he wants, and he says, "Lady, you know all my desire and long held, and keeping the only treasure that I seek, yet it is not yours to give me, even if you would, and only through darkness shall I come to it." So, I mean, obviously that's Arwen's hand in marriage, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah. So that was a, I don't know, that was a nice conversation.
It was.
And I like how it's how he never actually says, "I want to marry your granddaughter." He just
Yeah, I'd like to have another look at the way they did the sheath for the sword in the movies, because I do not remember it having flowers on it. Or gems.
Yeah, actually the way it's described sounds kind of tacky.
Maybe.
Like they spelled out letters with the gems or something that.
I wasn't imagining like bedazzled lettering. I was imagining more like shards of gemstone kind of fitted into the shapes of letters.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
Kinda like
the movie did so well with the all of the armor and the decoration that I'm sure they took that and they made it beautiful in one way or another. So
yeah, I want to look closer, because they did change the story of how like the sword stuff happened. Because I think in the movie, they leave Rivendell without the sword, and then it gets reforged later, and Arwen and Elrond, or maybe just Elrond, bring it to him in the second one. And
the third one, and like everybody who had read the books at that moment, just like right in the theater, yells out, "Finally!"
So yeah, they kind of leapfrogged over the possibility of him getting a sheath from Galadriel if he still didn't even have the sword.
Yeah, but most of the gifts I think were glossed over, even in the extended version.
And then, okay, so my favorite one, oh no, I kind of have two favorites now. I read this chapter a couple of times, and, I love Sam's.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, has a like box of dirt ever been a nicer gift in history?
No, it was so beautiful. I noted that one too, particularly that he's the only one who gets something that's, meant for his life after the journey.
Yeah, and that's such a hopeful thing. And like, even, you know, knowing how it ends, and there's the scouring of the Shire, that still is a really hopeful thing, because there's just no way that this unique gift from Galadriel is gonna go wasted. So I mean, she even has a line about how even if everything else is like barren and dead or something like that, then your garden will still bloom and remind you of Lorien. So there's hope for the Shire, even if this is the only hope for the Shire.
Yeah, it's so appropriate to Sam.
Yeah, it ties into all these
he's so simple, but like he's so honest, and he's just, you know, the right person to entrust with making a garden that blooms forever.
Yeah, and then earlier, like last chapter, he was or the chapter when they looked into the mirror and he saw the Shire in trouble. So this is like gotta be really comforting for him too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then okay, my other favorite is Gimli's.
Obviously.
Yes, obviously. So yeah, we've kind of talked about this already, but not on video yet, but he gets 3 strands of hair from Galadriel, and the way it all plays out is just awesome, because I feel like these two are maybe Lord of the Rings' best example of courtly love from like medieval understanding, where like a knight who had no hope or chance of getting together like romantically with a lady would still like have her as like the symbol of goodness in the world and like fight for the sake of that. And that's clearly what's happening here with Gimli. And it's precious.
And he even uses that gift. He says openly that what he plans to do is treasure it, and that gift becomes a symbol of Galadriel, who is his symbol of hope and goodness in the world.
Yeah. And I know that there's like deeper Lord of the Rings lore on this, but I don't remember the details, because there was some other guy who actually asked for some of her hair, and she said no, and it was kind of a big deal. And so when Gimli is like, you made me say what I want, I know I have no chance here, but since you're making me say just a strand of your hair, that's what I would want. And
yeah, his request was really beautifully phrased.
It was. He's so gracious, and she was so sweet to him about it. And then she gives him 3, and all the elves gasp. That's because they know about the dude that she said, yeah, no, you don't get it.
Okay, yeah, I actually, I don't know about this.
Really?
Maybe I heard about it at some point, but it feels pretty new to me, so maybe we can dig that up later
and
as
talk
well.
about it next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. My brother, who's a year and a half younger than me, is really into like deep Tolkien lore. I think I bought him most of the extra books that like Christopher Tolkien published from his dad's notes for like Christmas and birthdays for the last several years. And so he just keeps inundating me with little details about stuff.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so we got a source. Yeah, we will use him.
So whenever I tell him, oh, we're on this chapter now, and then he just goes off on deep lore, and I'm like, whoa, okay. So that's why I know about the other strand of hair, but we should definitely find out more about that.
Yes.
Okay, and so finally, there's Frodo's gift. Did you have anything about that?
Not really, except that, it kind of requires the context of the entire story for it to be the special gift that it is, because honestly my first thought is, oh, she's giving him a flashlight. That's great. It's a flashlight that never runs out of batteries. But obviously it's more than that, and but not just symbolically. I mean, it's also the mechanics of this world that they're living in, where they don't have flashlights, and an item that creates light that cannot be extinguished is really pretty amazing, and we will, of course, see how it comes in handy in the future.
Yeah. Let's see. I wondered if it was... Okay, because Frodo in previous chapters has like called on the name of one of the like godlike beings.
Elbereth, yeah.
Elbereth. So, so it's not the same one. That like this isn't the same star, or
I think it might be because Elbereth also has another name that I can't remember right now.
I just remember Elbereth Glithoniel.
Yeah.
But I don't remember if Arendelle has anything to do with that. That maybe is something else to look up for next time.
Might be. I'm not sure if I've mentioned this before, but one thing that I learned from the Silmarillion, although I did forget a lot of it, is that the word El in Elvish means star.
Oh, cool.
So that's why you see it in so many Elvish words and names.
Oh, wow. So Galadriel has star in her name.
Yeah, and
I guess Celeborn does?
I'm not sure, because I think that one is Kel, not El, but
okay.
Elbereth and
then Elrond, for sure.
Elrond, yeah. So, yeah, you'll notice that, and I think even Tolkien decided that that's where the word elf came from.
Oh, nice. Right, because they're kind of almost low-level angels more than they're like fae creatures.
Yeah, and also the story of it is that that Elle was originally a primitive exclamation, because when the elves were first put into the world, they went outside and looked up at the night sky and they said Elle, which means like look. So they called the stars El, and they just really, really love stars.
Okay. Yeah, all of their stuff does seem to be very star-focused.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything else about the chapter?
Let me see. Just really briefly, the way the company is arranged in the 3 boats, it's I'm not even sure what kind of meaning I'm getting out of this, except that I'm pretty sure that it was the same in the movie, that they made sure to put them in the same boats.
Yeah.
And Aragorn is with Frodo and Sam, right?
Yeah.
Which means that Boromir is with Merry and Pippin, which I didn't even notice. Yeah, and I kind of missed that. And then Gimli and Legolas are together. Yes. Yeah, and that just kind of like speaks to the different relationships that they have. But also, it kind of seems like their weights are perfectly balanced. Like, you've got the
physical weight, or do you mean
the two big men each have two little hobbits, and then
a dwarf offsets one.
Yeah, there's two medium-sized ones in the third boat.
Yeah, I always imagined dwarves as weighing more for their actual like size.
I do too, but I think that's actually, I think it's from other stories, other kinds of dwarf lore, and not Tolkien's.
Okay, yeah, maybe. They're. I'm sure they're described as being very stout, at least.
They are, and they're definitely they would weigh more than a hobbit, although they're not much taller. Yeah.
Okay, and then I guess very briefly, there's two songs that Galadriel sings in this chapter, and I listened to the audiobook, and sometimes I really enjoy the songs because they tried to match them to actual medieval tunes, which is a really cool touch. But sometimes they fall flat, and you know, the guy who does the reading just can't do justice to an elf lady singing songs. So I'm like, I feel bad for him. I liked the one that was in English, but all I could think of listening to the one in Elvish was how difficult that must have been for the poor guy to record.
Yeah, I mean, the pronunciations alone of the Elvish, I was kind of wondering how your audiobook did that, because, I mean, I look at it on the page and I'd basically just gloss over it. I mean, there's not really any point in trying to sound it out.
Yeah, it seemed like he kind of gave up on the idea of trying to do it in a tune and just focused on the pronunciation. So it was more chanty, and that's obviously much less than accurate to how it would have sounded. I wonder, I know that the background music in a lot of the movie, when there's like choir stuff going on, is taken from the text of the book. So I wonder if like the kind of haunting music when they're in Lorien is the Elvish song.
Oh.
Yeah, I
wouldn't be surprised
about that. Okay. All right, well, I think that's everything I've got, and everything else that I've been able to think of while we've talked about it.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, I guess I just wanted to mention how sadly the chapter ends. Just in the last couple paragraphs, you can really see how they're leaving this magical place that was such a comfort to them, and now they're kind of out in the real world. Yeah,
that's true. And like even Legolas tries to help Gimli feel better about it, and it just does not work. It's like, hey, it's fine, buddy. You're gonna have this sharp, clear memory of this for the rest of your life. And he's like, yeah, but I'd rather just be there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a noble attempt, but I'm sure we would all feel the same way. Like, I want memories.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's that chapter.
Yeah, and this was really fun.
This was fun. Okay, cool. So yeah, this was our first experience of recording and talking, and
yeah, hopefully it's as fun.
Hopefully we'll be back.
Yeah, and hopefully it's as fun for you guys to listen to as it was for us to record, and we'll see if we can keep doing this.
Right on.
All right.
So, signing off.
Signing off.